You know Subaru, but do you know the man who built it? He never drove a car. He built warplanes. He fought both Mitsubishi and the U.S. military. And yet, without him Subaru wouldn't exist. Section 1: The man behind Subaru. Why no one talks about him. Have you ever heard of the man who built Subaru? Most car fans haven't. And that's strange, isn't it? We all know Honda. We all know Toyota. But Subaru? It's different. It doesn't have a famous founder. No flashy commercials. No global icon with a smiling face. Just loyal fans. And a car company that somehow refuses to die. But here's the truth. Subaru exists because of a man named Chikuhei Nakajima. Not a businessman. Not an engineer. A warplane commander. A man who built Japan's first aircraft factory when no one even believed Japan could fly. He didn't drive cars. He built machines for war. He designed engines that roared through the skies. But in the ruins of World War II, his company was torn apart. And from those ashes rose Subaru. So here's the question. Why do we know Enzo Ferrari, Ferdinand Porsche, Soichiro Honda, but not Chikuhei Nakajima? Is it because he made fighter planes, not sports cars? Because he died before Subaru ever took off? Or is it something about how Japan chooses to remember its past? Every country celebrates its car heroes. But Japan? Sometimes, it forgets the ones who lost everything first. Today, let's go back to where it all began. To a poor village boy who gave up a Navy career. To build an empire of engines, from nothing. And maybe, just maybe, we'll remember the man behind the stars. Section 2: From Dirt Roads to the Sky. Nakajima's unbelievable journey. Imagine being born on a farm, surrounded by rice fields and silkworms. No cars, no airplanes, just dirt roads and hard labor. That was Chikuhei Nakajima's world. Born in 1884 in rural Gunma, Japan, he was the son of a modest farmer. His parents believed education was a waste for people like them. Stay in the fields. Be grateful. Don't dream too much. But Nakajima was different. He wanted more. So, as a teenager, he ran away from home. No money. No promise. Just ambition. He passed an entrance exam and entered the Japanese Navy's elite engineering school. There, he found what he was looking for: no discipline, but vision. While others studied for promotions, Nakajima was obsessed with machines. He wanted to understand how power worked, how engines breathed, how steel moved. And in 1912, he got his first chance. The Navy sent him to America. Not for combat but to learn about airplanes. This was just 9 years after the Wright brothers' flight. Aviation was still magic. In Japan, it had nothing. But in America, Nakajima did something unexpected. He didn't just observe. He learned to fly. He earned one of Japan's first international pilot licenses without permission. It caused a scandal back home. But it also revealed something else. Nakajima wasn't just a soldier. He was a rebel, a dreamer, someone who believed Japan could fly even if no one else did. And that belief would become the seed of something far greater. Not just a plane, not just a company, but the beginning of a movement that would decades later become Subaru. Section 3: Building planes from nothing. The birth of Nakajima aircraft. How do you build a plane when your country doesn't even believe in flying? How do you convince people to follow you when you've never built one yourself? In 1917, Chikuhei Nakajima did something unthinkable. He left the Navy. He gave up his rank, his salary, his future. And he returned to his hometown in Gunma. Why? To start Japan's first private aircraft company. He had no factory, no team, no investors. But he had one thing: belief. He believed Japan could build planes just like America, just like Europe. He rented an old building that used to be a museum. He turned it into a workshop. At first, there were only 9 people. Some were friends. Some were old Navy engineers. All of them were dreamers. But dreaming isn't enough. They built their first plane, Nakajima Type 1. It crashed. They built another, and another. Failure after failure. People started calling it a joke. Newspapers printed cartoons mocking him. Locals made fun with rhymes. Prices go up. Rice goes up, but Nakajima planes never go up. Still, he didn't quit. Why? Because for Nakajima, flying wasn't about glory. It was about proving Japan could rise. That it didn't have to copy forever. That it could make something truly its own. And finally, in 1919, after years of humiliation, his plane flew. Really flew. Not in a dream, not in a lab, but in the sky, before a crowd. That moment changed everything. Orders from the military began pouring in. Nakajima aircraft had taken off, and Japan was finally learning how to fly. Section 4: The Empire's Wings, from Dream to War Machine. What happens when your dream is used for war? What if the engines you built for progress become engines of destruction? By the 1930s, Nakajima Aircraft was no longer a dream. It was Japan's leading aviation company. They built fighters, bombers, training planes, everything. Their factories grew. Thousands were employed. Nakajima was hailed as a national hero. And yet, something had changed. He wasn't building for curiosity anymore. He was building for the military. His name was on planes that dropped bombs. His dream had become a weapon. To be clear, Nakajima wasn't a villain. He wasn't seeking power. He believed Japan needed strength to survive in a dangerous world. And in those days, many felt the same. But war changes everything. As Japan's empire expanded, so did Nakajima's factories. By World War II, his company was building more planes than anyone in Asia. Some of the most feared aircraft in the Pacific bore the Nakajima name. He had created the wings of the empire. But there was a cost. Innovation gave way to mass production. Creativity was crushed under military orders. And Nakajima himself, once a visionary, became a tool of the war machine. In 1945, the empire collapsed. Japan surrendered, and Nakajima's life work was destroyed. His company was dismantled by the Americans. Factories closed, plans burned, legacy erased. How do you live with that? He had given everything for flight. And now, flight itself was banned. This wasn't just defeat, it was erasure. The dream that once flew had fallen. But even then, something remained. Not the planes, not the factories, but the spirit of never giving up. Section 5: From Ashes to Subaru, a Legacy Reborn. How do you rebuild a dream after it's been burned to the ground? How do you start again when everything you built has been taken from you? After Japan's surrender in 1945, Chikuhei Nakajima was left with nothing. His factories? Dismantled. His engineers? Dispersed. His name? Disgraced by war. And yet, something strange happened. The men who once worked for him, his engineers, his builders, his dreamers, didn't give up. They reconnected, quietly, not as soldiers, not as warriors, but as creators again. In 1953, these former employees formed a new company, Fuji Heavy Industries. At first, they didn't make planes. They made scooters, then buses, then cars. One of their first creations was called the Subaru 360. Tiny, lightweight, unusual. It didn't look like a war machine. It looked like a new beginning. And it was. The name Subaru means to unite in Japanese. It's also the name of a star cluster visible only when the sky is clear. A symbol of hope, of connection, of starting again. Though Nakajima had passed away by then, his spirit, his belief that Japan could make something unique, was alive in every bolt, every screw, every curve of the Subaru. Subaru wasn't just a company. It was redemption. It was proof that failure is not the end. That even from the ruins of war, something beautiful can rise again. Not a fighter plane this time, but a car. Not for conquest, but for people. And that shift may be Nakajima's greatest victory of all. Section 6: Why do Japanese build for longevity, not speed? Why do Japanese cars often last longer than others? Why do they value endurance over speed? In the West, power is often about acceleration. 0 to 60 horsepower, the feeling of domination on the road. But in Japan, power means something different. It's about trust, quiet strength, reliability. This mindset goes back to people like Chikuhei Nakajima. He never built machines to impress. He built them to endure. In war, that meant planes that kept flying even under fire. In peace, it meant cars that kept running year after year. Subaru inherited this philosophy. Their vehicles don't scream for attention, but they keep going. Through snow, through storms, through decades. Ask a Subaru owner in America. Many still drive cars that are 20 years old. Not because they can't afford new ones, but because the old ones still work, and they feel connected to them. This kind of thinking comes from Japanese culture. A culture that values harmony, patience, and quiet mastery. Where pride comes not from flash, but from things that last. In Japan, there's even a word mottainai. It means what a waste, a sense of regret over not using something to its full potential. This spirit lives in their cars, too. Do you see this difference in your country? Are people more focused on what's new or what endures? Nakajima may have built for war, but what he left behind was a deeper idea. That strength isn't loud, it's steady, quiet, lasting, and that's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. Section 7. The all-wheel drive revolution. Subaru's quiet masterstroke. In the 1970s, while the world chased speed and luxury, Subaru took a different path on that no one expected. They focused on something simple: control. Not just horsepower, not just comfort, but traction. They pioneered all-wheel drive systems in passenger cars. Not for racing, but for safety. People laughed at first. Why add expensive mechanics to a compact family car? Why build for snow and mud instead of speed? But Subaru knew its audience. They weren't chasing trends. They were watching the roads in Hokkaido, in the mountains, in icy towns. They saw how people lived, how they struggled in the snow, how families needed a car they could trust in any condition. So they built it. The Subaru Leone 4WD wagon, launched in 1972, was the world's first mass-produced all-wheel drive passenger car. And slowly people began to notice. Skiers loved it. Rural drivers swore by it. Postal workers in Alaska used it. Families in snowy Canada bought it. It didn't make headlines, but it won hearts. Subaru wasn't trying to be flashy. They were solving real problems, with quiet engineering and mountain-born wisdom. That's why, today, Subaru is still known for one thing: going where others can't, up steep hills, through unplowed roads, across frozen landscapes. This wasn't luck, it was vision. A company that looked past the highway and into the lives of ordinary people. And that simple idea, grip, not glamour, changed the way the world drives. Section 8. Love, loyalty, and Subaru more than just a car. Why do Subaru owners keep buying Subaru again and again? What makes people stick with a car? No for style or speed, but for something deeper? In the United States, brand loyalty is rare. Most drivers switch brands every few years. Newer, flashier, faster. But Subaru broke that pattern. Surveys show Subaru owners are among the most loyal in the auto world. Some call it a cult following. But it's not about obsession. It's about trust. People say, "My Subaru saved my life in a blizzard. My Subaru helped me escape a flood. My Subaru never let me down." These stories aren't advertisements. They're memories. Moments where a car wasn't just transportation, but a partner. Subaru leaned into this. Instead of selling horsepower, they sold values: safety, family, reliability. Their famous U.S. campaign said, "Love, it's what makes a Subaru, a Subaru." And it worked. Subaru didn't try to be the fastest or cheapest. They became the most dependable. They knew their audience: nurses, teachers, outdoor lovers, dog owners. People who care about function over flash. People who want something that feels human. And that's the key. Subaru doesn't just make machines. They make connections. So when you see a Subaru on the road, with a kayak on top, a dog in the back, and snow on the tires, you're not just seeing a car. You're seeing a story. Nakajima might have built machines for war, but Subaru became a brand for life. Quiet, humble, and deeply loved. Section 9 Engineering with Emotion: How Subaru Balances Logic and Soul. Most car companies build with data, market trends, sales forecasts, efficiency charts. They ask, what will sell best? But Subaru engineers ask a different question. How will this feel? That difference matters. When you step into a Subaru, it doesn't try to impress you. It tries to understand you. The seat hugs your body. The dashboard is simple, calm, and quiet. The drive isn't flashy, but it feels right. This is not a mistake. It's intentional. Subaru designs are rooted in two things: practicality and empathy. They think about single parents, elderly drivers, people driving through storms, people who just want peace after a long day. That's why they focus on visibility, on symmetrical balance, on safety features you'll never see but will be there when you need them. Nakajima would have approved. He wasn't a man of flash. He built machines with care, not just skill. Subaru continues that path. They don't chase trends. They build what feels human. Even in their marketing, you can sense it. No loud celebrity endorsements. No racing trophies flashed on screen. Just people, real stories, quiet confidence. In a world chasing noise, Subaru stays silent and strong. So here's a question. Can engineering have emotion? Subaru says yes. Not in words but in every turn of the wheel. Every gentle start. Every quiet stop. It's not just metal and software. It's soul. And that's what makes the difference you can feel but can't always explain. Section 10 The Forgotten Genius: How Nakajima's Spirit Lives On in Subaru. Most people have never heard the name Chikuhei Nakajima. He isn't in commercials. There are no glossy books or global fan clubs. And yet this legacy moves across the world, every single day. Nakajima started with nothing. A poor boy from a rural town. He dreamed of flight, built Japan's first aircraft factory, and later faced the weight of war. After Japan's defeat, his company was dismantled. The military was gone. The planes were banned, and his name faded into silence. But not his spirit, because decades later, a small team of engineers, many trained in Nakajima's company, gathered to build something new. Not a fighter, not a weapon, but a peaceful machine for everyday people. They named it Subaru, and just like that, Nakajima's spirit returned, not in the sky, but on the roads. Not to fight but to serve. The symmetry, the reliability, the quiet engineering, the respect for the driver, all of it was born from his legacy. And perhaps that's what makes Subaru so different. It wasn't created by a billionaire, or designed in a luxury lab. It was born from hardship, built by people who lost everything. People who decided, this time we build for peace. So next time you see a Subaru, remember behind that modest badge is the story of a boy who chased the sky. A dreamer, a builder, a forgotten genius who didn't just make machines. He made meaning, and that meaning drives on quietly every day. Cultural habits like this may seem small, but they reflect big ideas. How does your culture compare? Let's share and learn from each other. Leave a comment if you'd like. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.